It's just been interesting being on Twitter, watching the monkeys throwing poo at each other as soon as things fall apart. Everybody's freaking out, accusing each other of all sorts of things. It's kind of hilarious, but within the general context of crypto and the logarithmic trends that I look at, it's kind of nothing really happening. We're just in a big sideways range right now. And I think, I looked at this in detail, and for me, it's all been driven by the lack of inflows into the overall network. We just haven't seen network growth for a while. And whether that's a function of consumer spending patterns, so, if you raise a lot of prices on people and don't raise their wages enough, then the marginal investor disappears. And I think we've seen that. We've seen that in stuff like the meme stocks as well. So I think that's kept people away and that's kept the market a little more volatile. But from the top-down perspective, all I get is phone calls and conference calls with all of the world's biggest investors. This week alone, I've spoken to two of the largest private equity firms in the world who are like, how do we do this? How do we get involved? And that's, I'm speaking to pension funds, asset allocators, everybody. So I don't think anything's changed at all. It's just a period of stagnancy. People are now like, okay, well, where do we go from here? So one of the things I've done is I've set up a fund of funds investing in crypto hedge funds. There's a lot of interest in that space. How do we get exposure? That's how people want to get exposure to DeFi as well, because it's an easier route to get a bunch of different hedge funds who run DeFi strategies to have a kind of diversified portfolio, because people don't yet understand the risks, and I think that's right. So they're looking at the secondary markets now, and realistically, if you look at the VC space, there's been tens of billions of dollars gone into VC. While if you look at the secondary markets, i.e. the hedge fund market, there's been about $1 billion of primary capital only, and the whole space is about $6 billion, and that's mainly driven by performance. So there's a lot of institutional interest in that. The banks and everybody else are looking at, okay, how do we service this market? How do we set up trading desks? What do we need to provide? The mega finance firms are thinking, okay, how do we further get into this market beyond just VC?
Raoul, I actually found you on Cointelegraph. Here's the headline. Wait, what? Former Bitcoin bull Raoul Pal only owns one Bitcoin. Greg Foss, explain. What happened there?
I got so much hatred for that, but it's hilarious. It's just like, as I've been talking about for a long time, I think Bitcoin underperforms some of these others. So, and over time, I just get tired of the hardcore Bitcoin community, and they prove it time and time again by, I explained that, network effects is actually about encouraging people onto the network and not attacking them when they don't agree with you. And then so when I then say, well, I've actually only got one Bitcoin because I feel like I should have a stake in it, but I don't feel like it's where I want to be, or what's the best use of my money. Oh my God, everybody freaks out again. And then they dredge up the fact that I bought a bunch of ETH call options that are going to expire worthless. And now I'm exposed as a scam and a fraud because I lost money in an option trade. It's hilarious. I did this once before. I got thrown into anti-climate change Twitter a few years ago. And all of these people, I was arguing with them, saying, well, why would you not take Pascal's dilemma and suggest, well, if the downside is catastrophic, then the worst you're going to do is maintain the status quo by trying to save the planet and whatever. But people were really arguing. So I took some people off aside in conversations, and I said, I was trying to find out why. Why are you so anti this? Because it didn't really make that much rational sense. And the answer was basically, I'm worried you're going to raise gas prices or taxes on gasoline. So what it actually was a reflection of poverty and lack of opportunity set. Particularly the middle of America got gutted out over the last 30 years, and it was a representation of that. And I think it's somewhat the same in crypto. There's a bunch of people that kind of have fun, stay poor crowd who are really, this is their bet, this is their thing that could save them, and they don't have a lot, because you don't get it from the whales in Bitcoin. They're not like that at all. So it's the small holders who think that this is their chance to escape the trap, and they will want to defend the network at all costs and their position because they've self-identified as this. So I think I think you're right in the question is why it's a much more emotive level. So and that was all about that forking and the psychological fear of that community splitting, twice back in 2017. So it's right. It's all emotional scarring, I think. To argue that everything is all about ultimate decentralization is kind of missing the point, because most people don't care. Now, when you're arguing that, it's from a philosophical standpoint that that's how you think it should be. But people have proven time and time again they will take the trade-off of time or cost versus decentralization, and that's okay, and that's why the rest of the space, the layer ones, have grown so fast. It's because people will take that trade-off, and decentralization is not the everything. Everything is relatively decentralized, but not totally decentralized. Because if it depends what your worldview is, and I think we probably all share the same worldview, is we want this internet of value layer to be available to everybody, full stop. So however that morphs and however that changes, and whatever permutations and combinations of different protocols and different layers is fine, because that's what we really want, because that is still decentralized at a broader level, and it's not just down to single protocols. So I guess it depends on worldviews.